I started my journey as a software developer in Seattle, with big dreams and an even bigger trust in people. My college friend and I built a tech company from scratch, creating an app that revolutionized inventory management for small businesses. Everything was going perfectly until it wasn't. Success came quickly, bringing investors knocking at our door and opportunities beyond what we had imagined. But I soon learned that when money enters the equation, even decade-long friendships can change in unexpected ways. Before I continue this story about trust and betrayal in business, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit subscribe if you've ever put your trust in the wrong person and want to see how I turned the tables. I met Jackson during our sophomore year at the University of Washington. We clicked, immediately bonding over our shared vision of creating technology that would make life easier for struggling business owners. While I excelled at coding and technical development, Jackson had a natural gift for marketing and sales. His charisma could light up a room, convincing even the most skeptical clients that our solutions were exactly what they needed. After graduation, I took a job at a large tech firm, spending 3 years writing code for projects I felt little connection to. Every day at that corporate job felt like selling a piece of my soul. Jackson went into marketing for a retail chain, but felt equally unfulfilled. We would meet regularly at a local coffee shop, sketching ideas on napkins and dreaming about breaking free. "Irving, we could actually do this," Jackson said during one of our late-night planning sessions. "You build the product, I sell it, and we split everything 50-50. Equal partners all the way." The idea terrified and excited me simultaneously. Leaving a stable job felt reckless, but the possibility of building something meaningful was too tempting to resist. We shook hands on our partnership in that coffee shop, neither of us having any idea what lay ahead. I withdrew my entire savings of $32,000 to fund our startup. Jackson contributed $18,000, which represented everything he had. We called our company Inventory Pro and set up operations in my garage, working 16-hour days, fueled by cheap coffee and ambition. Those early months tested our resolve. We lived on ramen noodles and pizza coating late into the night, revising our business plan countless times. My girlfriend Amanda supported my dream, but worried about the toll it was taking. "I believe in you," she would tell me, while bringing dinner to the garage at midnight. "Just remember to take care of yourself, too." 6 months in, we had a working prototype. Our app helped small businesses track inventory in real time, predict ordering needs, and eliminate waste. We offered it to 3 local businesses for free, asking only for honest feedback and testimonials if they liked it. The response exceeded our expectations. A local bakery owner called in tears, explaining how our software had saved her 20 hours a week in manual tracking. "You have no idea what that means for a single mother running a business," she told us. Her testimonial became our first marketing material. With this validation, Jackson began approaching more potential clients. His sales skills proved invaluable as he converted meeting after meeting into paying customers. Within a year, we had 37 clients and enough revenue to move out of my garage and into a small office space. Hiring our first employee felt monumental. Daniel, a brilliant programmer I had worked with previously, joined to help develop additional features. Soon after, we brought in Sophia for customer support and Taylor to assist Jackson with sales. Our little family was growing. I remember the day we landed our first major client, a regional grocery chain with 23 locations. Jackson and I celebrated by splurging on an expensive bottle of champagne, something neither of us could really afford yet. To Inventory Pro, Jackson toasted his eyes bright with excitement. And to us, equal partners who will never let money change what matters most. I clinked my glass against his. "Partners for life," I agreed. The success continued, bringing more clients, more employees, and more complexity. While I focused on product development, Jackson handled the business operations and client relationships. Our roles naturally separated based on our strengths, which seemed efficient at the time. As we approached our second year in business, I noticed something that gave me pause. Jackson had hired a financial manager without discussing it with me first. When I asked about it, he seemed surprised by my concern. "We needed someone to handle the growing finances, Irving. I thought you would be happy not to deal with that side of things." His explanation made sense, but something about the unilateral decision bothered me. Still, I brushed it aside, focusing instead on our upcoming product updates. Little did I know, this was just the first warning sign of what was to come. As Inventory Pro continued its growth trajectory, our modest team expanded to 15 people. We moved to a larger office in downtown Seattle, complete with the startup essentials, an espresso machine, comfortable lounges for brainstorming, and an open floor plan to encourage collaboration. I poured myself into enhancing our product often, coding for 12 hours straight, without realizing time had passed. My dedication to perfecting our technology meant I was less involved in the day-to-day business operations. Jackson stepped confidently into handling more of the company administration. At first, this division of labor seemed natural. He arranged meetings with potential investors, negotiated with clients, and managed our growing staff. I trusted him implicitly. After all, he was not just my business partner, but had been my friend for over a decade. The first cracks in that trust appeared subtly. During a team meeting, Jackson announced a new pricing structure I had never heard about. When I questioned him afterward, he seemed irritated. "I sent you an email about it last week," he said dismissively. "You were probably too caught up in coding to notice." I checked later and found no such email, but convinced myself it must have been a miscommunication. That is just business, I told myself. We are both under pressure. A month later, I received a curious call from a venture capitalist who mentioned being impressed by Jackson's solo pitch. When I asked what he meant, there was an awkward pause. "Oh, I assumed you knew," the investor said. "Jackson presented to our firm last Thursday. He mentioned you were too busy with technical matters to attend." That evening, I scrolled through our company calendar and found no record of this meeting. When confronted, Jackson explained it as a last-minute opportunity he did not want to miss. "It went great," he assured me. "They are considering a $3 million investment. I was going to surprise you with the good news once it was finalized." His explanation seemed plausible, yet a feeling of unease lingered. I decided to pay closer attention to the business side of things, starting with our finances. What I discovered sent a chill down my spine. Several client payments had been directed to an account I was unfamiliar with. When I accessed our accounting software, I found discrepancies between reported revenue and actual bank deposits. Small amounts, nothing that would immediately raise alarms, but consistent enough to suggest deliberate action. I scheduled a meeting with Jackson, carefully planning my approach. When I showed him the evidence, he maintained perfect composure. "This is a misunderstanding," he explained, pulling up different reports on his laptop. "We created a separate account for the expansion fund. Remember, we discussed setting aside capital for opening an East Coast office. Everything is accounted for, just structured differently for tax purposes." His answer seemed reasonable, and the documents he showed me appeared to support his explanation. I wanted to believe him, so I did temporarily. Amanda, however, was not convinced. During dinner at our favorite restaurant, she mentioned seeing Jackson driving a new luxury car and talking about purchasing a vacation property. "How can he afford that on the same salary as you?" she asked. "You said the company is reinvesting most profits into growth." Her observation nagged at me. The next day, I contacted a friend at a bank where we had company accounts. Under the guise of needing documentation for a potential investor, I requested copies of all transactions from the past 6 months. The evidence was devastating. Jackson had created multiple accounts without my knowledge, diverting approximately 20% of our revenue. He had altered contracts with our largest clients, showing me versions with lower numbers, while collecting the full amounts into separate accounts. Most shocking of all, I discovered applications for patents on our technology listing Jackson as the sole inventor. Applications I never knew existed for technology I had primarily created. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Nights became torture chambers of sleeplessness and anxiety. I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks, my body physically reacting to the stress and shock. My mind kept returning to that champagne toast partners for life. Amanda became my anchor during this period. "You built this company," she reminded me constantly. "Do not let him take it from you without a fight." I was still formulating a response strategy when a courier delivered a legal letter. Jackson claimed that based on recent investment agreements I had supposedly signed, he now held 60% ownership of Inventory Pro. The documents looked legitimate, including what appeared to be my signature, though I had never seen them before. The letter stated clearly, I was now a minority owner in the company I had built from scratch. Jackson had legally outmaneuvered me while I trusted him blindly with our business affairs. The following morning, I sat in a downtown law office documents spread across a mahogany table. The attorney, Patricia Walsh, reviewed everything with a practiced eye, occasionally making notes or asking clarifying questions. Her expression grew increasingly grave. Based on these documents, your position is precarious, she finally said. The signatures appear valid, though we could challenge them with a forensic analysis. The larger issue is how much company operation you have effectively ceded to Jackson over time. Courts tend to recognize operational control as evidence of legitimate authority. Her assessment hit me like a physical blow. I had spent years building Inventory Pro, pouring my soul into lines of code and product features. The idea that I could lose it all through paperwork felt surreal. What are my options? I asked, my voice barely audible. A legal battle would be expensive and protracted with no guaranteed outcome, Patricia explained. And during that time, Jackson would remain in control of daily operations, potentially damaging the company further. I left her office feeling hollow. The Seattle rain matched my mood as I drove aimlessly, eventually finding myself parked outside my father's house. I had not planned to visit, but something drew me there. Dad had run a construction business for 30 years before retiring. He took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. Over a cup of black coffee at his kitchen table, I unloaded everything. I should just walk away, I concluded. Start over with a clean slate. My father studied me for a long moment before responding. When I was about your age, my first partner tried something similar. Not quite as sophisticated as your situation, but the same basic play. He thought because he handled the money, he controlled the company. What did you do? I asked. I remembered what actually makes a business valuable, he said. It is not bank accounts or legal papers. It is relationships, knowledge, and trust. Those things cannot be stolen with a forged signature. His words sparked something in me. Jackson might have manipulated paperwork, but he could not steal my knowledge of our product or my relationships with our development team. That night, I began planning. This would not be an emotional response, but a strategic one. I first secured all my original development notes and code documentation, proving my role as the primary creator of our technology. Then I reached out to Daniel, our first programmer hire, and now our technical team leader. Over breakfast at a quiet diner, I shared portions of what I had discovered. Daniel was not surprised. The development team has been uncomfortable with some changes Jackson has been pushing, he revealed. He wants to rush features before they are properly tested and has been redirecting resources from security improvements to flashier customer-facing elements. Daniel agreed to quietly gather support among the technical team. Meanwhile, I contacted Lisa, a forensic accountant recommended by Patricia. She agreed to analyze our company records after hours, keeping her work confidential. My next task was securing client relationships. Our top client, Regional Market Group, had always dealt directly with me on technical matters. I scheduled a meeting with their CIO, ostensibly to discuss upcoming features. Off the record, I said after our official business concluded, I may be dealing with some internal company restructuring soon. I want to assure you that regardless of any changes, your service and support will remain my top priority. The CIO studied me carefully. Jackson was here last week suggesting we prepay for the next year of service for a discount. Is there something we should know? This information was new to me, suggesting Jackson was attempting to extract as much cash as possible. I would recommend waiting on any payment changes until things stabilize, I advised. Back at the office, I maintained a facade of normalcy while gathering evidence. Lisa's analysis revealed systematic financial manipulation going back at least 14 months. Most damning was her discovery of communications between Jackson and a competing company discussing the potential sale of our intellectual property. I documented everything meticulously, building a case, not just for myself, but for potential legal and tax authorities. I installed recording software on my phone and carefully initiated conversations with Jackson that revealed his plans without alerting him to my knowledge. During one such recorded conversation, Jackson inadvertently admitted to diverting client funds. "The market group contract is worth twice what appears in our official books," he said, thinking he was simply boasting about his clever accounting to minimize tax exposure. His confidence made him careless. When I expressed concern about patent applications, he laughed dismissively. "The board only sees what we show them. Besides, those applications need to be in my name for the merger discussions to work properly." "What merger discussions?" I asked, careful to keep my tone merely curious. "Just exploring options," he said, suddenly more guarded. "Nothing concrete yet." Later that day, he entered my office and closed the door. His expression had hardened. I received a call from Regional Market Group. They seemed to have concerns about prepayment. "Did you talk to them?" "They called me with technical questions," I replied truthfully. "Is there a problem? Stay in your lane, Irving," he said, his voice carrying a threat. "Focus on the product, and let me handle the business side." That was our agreement. Actually, our agreement was to be equal partners, I countered. His eyes narrowed. "Things change. Companies evolve. You should too." As he left, I knew confrontation was inevitable. The next day, I received messages of support from 11 of our 15 employees. The regional sales director shared information about clients Jackson had approached regarding payment restructuring. Our lead designer forwarded emails showing Jackson had been discussing a complete rebranding that would effectively erase my contributions to the company identity. The turning point came when Regional Market Group, representing nearly 30% of our revenue, called to inform me they would only continue with Inventory Pro if I personally guaranteed my continued involvement. Their CIO had compared notes with other clients and discovered Jackson's pattern of concerning behavior. "We signed with your company because of the technology and integrity," he told me. "We need assurance those elements will remain." This vote of confidence gave me the final piece I needed. With client support, employee loyalty, financial evidence, and legal documentation, I was ready for the confrontation. I scheduled an emergency board meeting, something I had the authority to do as co-founder, though Jackson had conveniently forgotten this provision in our operating agreement. The boardroom felt unusually tense that Thursday morning. I arrived 30 minutes early to set up placing copies of key documents at each seat. Our board consisted of 5 people, Jackson and myself, our 2 initial investors, and an independent industry expert we had brought in for objectivity. Jackson sauntered in just before the scheduled start time, his confident smile faltering momentarily when he saw me already seated at the head of the table. That small crack in his facade gave me strength. "What is all this about?" he asked, gesturing to the folders. "We do not have any pressing matters requiring an emergency meeting." "Actually, we do," I replied calmly. "Please have a seat. We will begin when everyone arrives." Within minutes, all board members were present, along with Patricia Walsh, whom I had invited as my legal representative. Jackson raised an eyebrow, but said nothing as she took a seat against the wall behind me. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," I began. "I have called this meeting to address serious concerns regarding company operations and fiduciary responsibility." For the next 45 minutes, I methodically presented my evidence, starting with the financial discrepancies and moving to the unauthorized patent applications. I played selected recordings of Jackson's own admissions and presented statements from clients regarding his attempts to restructure payments outside normal company procedures. Jackson initially attempted to interrupt with explanations, but the weight of evidence soon silenced him. When I revealed the forensic accounting report showing systematic fund diversion, his face drained of color. "This is a misunderstanding," he finally sputtered. "Irving has been so focused on technical matters that he does not understand normal business operations. These actions were all taken to position us for growth and investment." Edward Carter, our most experienced board member, removed his glasses slowly. "Even if that were true, Jackson, these actions required board approval and transparency with your co-founder. Neither was present." Jackson changed tactics. "Irving is having personal problems that are affecting his judgment. His girlfriend has been pushing him to take more control. This is essentially a domestic dispute spilling into business. I had anticipated this personal attack. Amanda has indeed been supportive, I acknowledged. She encouraged me to notice when my friend began driving a car he could not afford on his reported income while I was still driving my 10-year-old Honda. The independent board member, Dr. Samantha Rivera, tapped her pen thoughtfully. The evidence suggests systematic deception regardless of motivation. The question now is how to proceed. After 2 hours of discussion, the board reached a unanimous decision with Jackson abstaining. He would be removed from operational control pending a complete audit. His shares would be held in escrow until legal questions regarding the potentially fraudulent ownership documents could be resolved. Jackson stormed out threatening lawsuits against everyone involved. But his position had collapsed under the weight of evidence. Without client or employee support, and with potential criminal charges looming for financial improprieties, his leverage had evaporated. The following weeks brought intense work and emotional processing. The company entered a restructuring period with me serving as interim CEO while we conducted a thorough review of all operations. Most painful was discovering the full extent of Jackson's betrayal, including plans to sell our intellectual property to a competitor once he had secured complete control. Legal negotiations with Jackson eventually resulted in a settlement. Rather than face potential criminal charges for financial fraud, he agreed to surrender his ownership claims in exchange for a significantly smaller payout than he had sought. The settlement included strict non-disclosure and non-compete provisions. With Jackson gone, I rebuilt the company culture from the ground up. Transparency became our core value, with regular open financial reviews and collaborative decision-making. I implemented new policies requiring dual approval for all major financial transactions and created an ethics committee composed of employees from different departments. The experience transformed me personally as well. The blind trust I had once given freely became something earned through consistent actions and integrity. I sought counseling to process the betrayal of a friendship I had valued for over a decade, learning that grief applies to lost relationships as much as to lost loved ones. Amanda stood by me throughout her unwavering support, giving me strength during the darkest moments. 6 months after the board meeting, I proposed to her during a weekend trip to the Oregon coast. "You saw his true character when I was too close to notice," I told her as I offered the ring. "I want your clarity and strength beside me for life." Inventory Pro not only survived but thrived under new leadership. We expanded thoughtfully, adding offices in Chicago and Austin within 2 years. Our client base tripled, attracted by both our technology and our reputation for ethical business practices. The deepest lesson from this experience was understanding that success built on deception is inherently unstable. True success comes from creating value, maintaining integrity, and building genuine relationships. The betrayal nearly cost me everything I had built. But in rebuilding, I created something far stronger and more meaningful than before. Today, I make time to mentor young entrepreneurs, sharing not just technical knowledge but hard-earned wisdom about partnership, trust, and verification. I tell them my story not to make them paranoid, but to help them build businesses founded on solid principles that can withstand challenges. Have you ever experienced betrayal in business or friendship? How did you handle it? And what lessons did you take away? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real business experiences. And do not forget to share with anyone who might be starting a business partnership. It might just save them from making the same mistakes I did. Thank you for listening. And remember, integrity in business is not just the right choice, it is ultimately the most profitable one.